Folks, UFC 308. I'm looking forward to this one. It should be a fun card, but guys, this is a tricky one to predict. There's a lot of fights on this card that are definitely either close matchups or just kind of odd matchups, but fun card nonetheless. There's gonna be a lot of fun fights. I do enjoy that. So we're gonna break this down. If you haven't done it already, check out the description of this video or any video. Really, all of my links are down there. You're gonna find all the good stuff: the Patreon, the merch, the affiliate links, like everything you need. It's all down there. So I do appreciate that. And while you're down there, if you want to like the video ahead of time before we get too far, that is okay too. I'll see you guys in the first fight. Pretty much a grappler versus striker matchup here where Rinat Fakhretdinov takes on Carlos Leal in the welterweight division. Now, Leal, you guys might remember him from the PFL if you are a PFL watcher. Some people are not. So maybe you are familiar, maybe not. But if you are familiar, you know that he's pretty darn good. And his skill set is very much the opposite of Rinat Fakhretdinov. So this should make for an interesting match. Now, Leal, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. His only recent loss is to Saidi, who is pretty gosh darn good and is a massive human being who I believe now fights at light heavyweight. So there is that. So take that for what it is. On the other side, Rinat Fakhretdinov, he's 4-0 and a draw in his last 5 fights. That draw was very, very lucky for him that the fight didn't have any more time left on the clock because dude got absolutely decimated there in that third and final round after being pretty well comfortably ahead. So saved by the bell kind of thing. Zaleski was the guy that almost took him out, but luckily for Rinat, he was able to power through it and grit down and make it through. So here we are. Now, Leal is accepting this fight on short notice, but he did have a fight scheduled originally that he obviously pulled out of for this opportunity. And that was scheduled for like Tuesday or Wednesday of the week ahead. So now, maybe yesterday? I don't know. Whatever. I'm recording this on Wednesday, so probably yesterday. I could be wrong. But either way, so Leal pulled out of that. He's now in this matchup here, and we're going to start with him. He's a good striker. He's got a lot of power, and he comes forward with pressure. When he comes forward, it's just a barrage of straight punches a lot of the time. And he'll also use these knees that he'll use straight up the middle and try to use them to close distance, especially on guys that are looking to shoot takedowns on him, because he's very much more of a striker than he is a grappler. So when he's coming forward, if he can start using these knees on a guy like Rinat, he can make it kind of second guess himself on those takedowns. I could definitely see Leal catching him with that knee up the middle. But if he gets you backed up against the cage, he's just going to unload with this barrage of strikes at you. And he kind of gets to where he starts to chicken wing a little bit when he's doing it. It's okay. Usually his opponents aren't throwing back at him at that point. So there is that. He does have decent grappling. His takedown defense is fine, but his takedown offense, it's actually pretty good. He just doesn't use it super often. A lot of times he'll get to like a body lock and trip a guy down when he does need it. The ground and pound's very solid, and the thing that I like the most is that when he gets you to the ground, he stays standing and punches down at his opponents there rather than committing to grappling with them. Why do I like that? Well, 2 reasons. First one is then you don't get that thing where your opponent can just kind of hug you and koala bear you and just keep you down and make it so that way nobody really does anything and then they get time to recover. But also, it makes it so he can't get swept. You can't get swept if you're standing up. I mean, I guess there are some, but most of those are pretty hard to do without a gi. But it's possible, I guess, if you can grab his wrist, put the foot in the hip, and grab the ankle. I mean, it's a process. I don't think it's going to happen. So point is, it makes it harder for him to get swept. He can't get held down. Sure, he's not able to just really unload. He's going to have to kind of chase him on his feet, and he does have to deal with the legs like kicking at him and stuff. But it does prevent him from getting stuck in a grappling exchange he doesn't want to be in. That's my point. Now, on the other side, for Rinat Fakhretdinov, the dude's wrestling is what gets it done for him, right? He's very solid in the wrestling department. The takedown volume is there. He doesn't always have the prettiest takedowns. I've been known to say this every time. He leaves his head and neck wide open when he shoots a takedown, just kind of lowers at the waist and just puts his head forward. It's not great, but the volume of takedowns seems to be getting it done for him. And the fact that when he gets a takedown or when he attempts a takedown and fails, he will then reap the leg to pull you down for that second effort. But he could definitely run his face right into a knee from Carlos Leal and be shut down. Just that's it right there. So that is a possibility, but I do think that he is going to be securing takedowns in this fight. Now, is a nasty cage push as well. If he gets you up against the cage, he's actually doing damage and hurting his opponents up against the cage, which is, a lot better than the wall install technique that we see from a lot of guys. So I do like that. Good ground and pound volume. It's not the prettiest, but he's got a lot of volume and a decent amount of power with it. Now, on the striking, basically, it's very unpolished, but the grappling threat will open up the hands, and he does hit pretty hard. So in this matchup, it comes down to, do I think that Rinat's going to get takedowns and do enough damage to win on the scorecards, of course, or do I think that Leal is going to be able to keep it on the feet, use his game plan, land his shots there? Honestly, I gotta take Fakhretdinov. I know it's only sort of short notice for Leal because he was training for another fight, but I think to train for a guy that is going to come out and shoot the takedowns that Fakhretdinov is in that volume, you really need to spend a camp just really focusing on stopping takedowns. We saw it against Brian Battle, where Battle, who is typically an extremely tough out for anybody, he took the fight on like a couple days' notice, similar here. He didn't have that preparation for stopping just the sheer volume and stick-to-itiveness of the takedowns from Rinat. So I spent a lot of time on this breakdown. I'm taking Rinat. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Those interesting matchups that I alluded to in the intro. We are in the middleweight division where Bruno Silva takes on Ismail Naurdiev. Now, Naurdiev, he's 3-2 in his last 5. However, if you break that down further, in his last 3 fights, he's 1-2, which is odd that he's now getting brought back into the UFC. It's obviously because they wanted him on this specific card, but he's been in the UFC before. So he's making his re-debut, and he did fine, but he didn't do great. It was kind of just like, I think he had like a 50-50 record in the UFC. So it's like, I don't know what you're going for here. But they're bringing him in, and they're putting him against Bruno Silva, who hasn't looked good at all lately. He's 1-4 in his last 5 fights. I think he's like 1-6 in his last 7, honestly. He just hasn't looked good lately. This is a guy that used to be very good, and then obviously he used to be really good. If he's 1-6 in his last 7, he's got 23 wins and 11 losses. You guys do the math and you can figure that out. But either way, after that Alex Ferreira fight, he just hasn't looked good since. Hardly at all. So there's that. That's a problem for him. And now we got to break this matchup down, right? So for Naurdiev, he's a good striker. He's got a very dynamic attack. He's got good kicks. He's very accurate with his kicks. And he does have a pretty good blitz to get the finish. When he realizes, that shot stung him, he comes in with that blitz and he lands it pretty well. He's got good grappling as well, powerful takedowns, pretty good ground and pound. The problem is he's struggled to put it all together. He's got the skills on paper, but he's struggled to put it together to get wins in some of these situations. Sometimes he's looking good and then he gets caught, which that could definitely happen here. We're going to talk about it in a minute, but if you're going to get caught by somebody, you don't want it to be Silva. But either way, he just somehow drops the ball in some of these matchups. But he does have the skills. So maybe that's why the UFC brought him back. I don't know. Maybe it's just because they needed somebody on the card and they're like, this guy's from the general region of the world. Let's put him here. On the other side, Bruno Silva definitely could be an upset for anybody because this guy's got good striking, but it's massive power. The dude's got 23 wins. You know how many of those are knockouts? 20 of them are knockouts. That's ridiculous. The dude hits like a truck. He's got good combinations as well, and I love that he puts his knees in middle of a combination. Like he'll be throwing with the hands, throw a knee, and then come right back to the hands. That's a tough thing to deal with because a lot of guys, they like to duck down to avoid combinations or to avoid strikes like that. You run into a knee like that from Bruno Silva, and then he follows it up with more shots afterwards, you're in some serious trouble. So this is good. Decent grappling as well. Defensively, not as much, but offensively, it's okay. Decent top pressure. The ground and pound's absolutely devastating. Here's the deal. I think Silva could definitely get an upset here, but I'm going to take the guy who they seem to have brought in specifically for this card. I'm going to take Naurdiev. I know he's got the skills to get it done. It's just, can he put it together and not just drop the ball? Stay away, guys. Stay away. We're taking Naurdiev. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Fight next. Farid Basharat takes on Victor Hugo. Both of these guys are 5-0 in their last 5. Basharat is actually still undefeated at 12-0. But let's start on the Hugo side. The guy's got decent striking. He comes forward. He's got pretty good power. He'll sometimes throw in flurries. Other times it's a lot of single shots, but it's very wild when he strikes because he's a much better grappler than striker. But definitely when he does strike, he does have the power, gets a bit wild, and that can cause him problems. But could also work out for him. So when it gets to the grappling, however, he's got good takedowns. He's submission over position, so he'll lose position a lot. But he is an actual legitimate leg lock specialist, which is weird in MMA. This guy really does have some pretty gosh darn good leg locks in MMA, which is hard to do. It can put him in bad spots, but it's a good skill. The way he's good at it, I don't know. He put all his skill points into leg locks, it seems. Either way, on the other side, for Farid Basharat, dude's a solid striker. I think he's actually a better striker than he is grappler, although his grappling has been what's got it done for him in some of his matchups that have been the more challenging ones. He's got very good volume, very good footwork. And he's got kicks to all levels. I think his striking is going to be leaps and bounds better than Hugo here. But the problem is he's going to have to be cautious not to get too confident in that striking, because one of those wild power shots from Hugo could put most guys down just because they're kind of unpredictable, even though they're not super clean. On the grappling front, good grappler, right? He sets up his takedowns with his strikes, which is what you want to see. He's got good takedown defense as well, so that's going to help him quite a bit. And if he gets on top, he's got great top control. He definitely has the cardio to do this for 15 minutes, no problem, so that is why he's a big favorite. Speaking of him being a big favorite, this is something I need to point out because a lot of people seem confused by this. They seem to think that for a fighter that's a big favorite, say minus 600, minus 700, to cover the line, they have to get an early finish. That's not what that means. If they're a big favorite, it does not mean that they have to get an early finish to cover the line. What it means is that their implied probability is that they're going to win the fight at an extremely high probability or an extremely high percentage of the time. It doesn't mean that they're going to get a finish. And it doesn't mean they didn't cover the line if they don't get a finish. Because some guys, their style just isn't going to go out there and get first round finishes. It's not how it works. Belal Muhammad, if he's fighting Victor Hugo, which would be ridiculous because 170 versus 135er, I'm just making an example. He doesn't get a lot of finishes, Belal Muhammad. But the dude should be a big favorite over somebody that's not on his level. But he's probably not going to get finishes in a lot of these fights. He got a finish over Sean Brady, I understand, but at one time. Other than that, he doesn't get a lot of finishes. Does that mean he should never be a big favorite? No. If he's outmatching the guy, he should be a big favorite. Farid Basharat might not get a ton of finishes, but with his style, he will get some finishes, definitely. He does have that ability to do that, but he's going to get a lot of fights where he's going to win by decision, and even in winning by decision, it makes sense that he was that big of a favorite because he was going to win that at the adequate percentage of time. I hope that makes sense. I went on a little rant there. Point is, I'm taking Farid Basharat to get it done. He'll probably get it done by decision, but to me, he'll cover the line for the simple fact that I think he's going to do it relatively without too much trouble and at a pretty high percentage. So for me, Farid Basharat's the pick, and it makes a lot of sense. Let me know what you guys think. Heavyweights next. Kennedy Nzechukwu takes on Chris Barnett. Now, Barnett was supposed to fight a couple of weeks ago, some hurricane business, and here we are. He's now stepping in to take on this fight on, I guess, short notice. Whatever. Nzechukwu was supposed to fight some other people. I think this is like his third opponent. So here we are. Both guys are 3-2 in their last 5. This is a wild matchup. We're going to start with Barnett. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this one here. Barnett's a good striker with very dynamic kicks. He's got pretty good power when he throws these kicks. And he's got a very unorthodox kind of taekwondo style. But he's like 5'8" or something like that, 5'9", and he's huge. So, he's huge like a bowling ball huge, not like huge tall. That's going to be the other side we're going to talk about. But he's extremely athletic for a guy that looks like he shouldn't be. So Chris Barnett is live to win a fight just by his athleticism, his power, and that unorthodox style is hard to predict. So he is live to win this fight as a big underdog. I've considered betting on him as a big underdog here. But at the same time, he's going against a mountain of a human being in Kennedy Nzechukwu, who is like 6'5", 6'6", or something like that. Like the height of, I'm 5'8", and I've stood next to people that are 6'6", and I feel like a child. I'm like, oh, hey, how you doing up there? I have a buddy that played offensive lineman in the NFL, and he's about that tall. And every time I would stand next to him, it looks like he's a normal sized person and I'm a child in a photo. It's very strange. That's how this is going to look as far as them height wise. Width wise, maybe not, but there is that. But for Kennedy, he's also younger. I mean, we got 38 and like 32 or something like that. It's a big difference. But anyway, let's go with the skills. For Kennedy, he is a good striker. He's got good power, and he's got good knees up the middle. But he's got a lot of red flags. His volume is not the best. His durability shows that it's not the best anymore, and he often drops his hands, which leaves that durability open. So that could be a big problem. Tall guys often drop their hands. He does that. I don't know that Chris Barnett can get his leg that high. I just don't know if his legs are long enough to get that high. I don't know. These are problems. But either way, there's a lot of red flags here, but he probably should be better, right? He has good takedown defense as well, and will get opportunistic subs. If somebody, puts their head in the wrong spot, he'll snatch it up. He's also inconsistent, and he lacks urgency. There's a lot of red flags on both sides, and if you're going to give me this guy in Nzechukwu at minus 700, I'm not going to bet him. I'm not going to parlay him up, so I advise that you don't do the same. But we're just trying to pick a winner here, and I assume he probably should win, so I have to pick him. Like, if we're just trying to pick somebody to win, I have to take Nzechukwu. But I'm still tempted to bet on Chris Barnett just because I don't trust Kennedy Nzechukwu to win a fight when he's let us down so many times. I mean, he's coming on 2 losses, one of which was to OSP, who looked terrible against Ryan Spann. I don't know. Do with this information what you want. I'll see you guys. Super fun matchup here at middleweight between a couple of guys who are both starting extremely fast in pretty much all of their matchups, as you see here. We have Bruno Ferreira, who is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He only got 1 loss on the career. And it was a spot where he kind of he threw a leg kick that was naked, didn't set it up, and just got caught, knocked out. It happens. On the other side, we've got Abus Magomedov. He's 3-2 in his last 5 fights, but those losses come into the guys in the top 5, so it's not like he's losing to bums. In this fight here, we're going to get action right out of the gate, and these guys both start fast, looking to implement their game plan right away. But here's the deal. I think we're going to get a decision here. I think we're going to get a war of attrition between these two because they're both going to try to finish early. Neither of them's going to get it, and it's going to be a fight where who can do more in the late stages of the fight, and that's who's going to get the win. So in this one, Bruno Ferreira, we're going to look at his skills. He's a good fighter, a good striker, fights out of either stance. He controls the range really well by getting in and out of the pocket really quick, and that's good for him because he's usually the shorter fighter, and he will be here again. He's got good feints, and he's got a lot of power as well. In the grappling, he's got nasty, nasty ground and pound. And like I said, he's going to start quick, so you're going to start seeing this stuff right out of the gate. For Abus Magomedov, solid striker, absolutely nasty kicks. This guy's kicks are beautiful. He's got tons of power with it. He can fight out of either stance as well. He's got a very good blitzing style. He'll come forward, land his blitz, and then get back out, which is, it's kind of what you're going to want to do against a guy like Ferreira, who, if you stick around the pocket too long, can put you out at any moment. He's got good wrestling. He can mix in the takedowns for a change of pace whenever he needs them, and he does have pretty good top control. He's also a fast starter, and we've seen him gas out before. We haven't really seen Ferreira gas out for the fact that he's only had 1 fight going to the 2nd round, and then he got knocked out by Nursultan before we had to see him get tested on his cardio. So realistically, he could have good cardio or bad cardio. We don't really know. Abus, we found out, and I think we're both going to see both of these guys pretty tired by the end of this one. For me, though, I'm going to take the guy who's got the better range, the guy who's been in there against a higher level of competition, and even though he didn't win, this is going to be a step back for him. So I'm going to take Abus Magomedov. I think he gets this one done, but I think it's going to be done by decision. Let me know what you guys think, and I will see you next. Fun matchup here at lightweight. It's Mateusz Rebecki, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He takes on Myktybek Orolbai, who is 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Now, good fight here because Rebecki's a guy that's going to start out extremely quickly and just put on an extremely high pace, whether that be in the striking or the grappling. With the striking, he's going to come forward, throw a lot of power shots, and has a really heavy leg kick. And he's going to just come out of the gate and do that. Now, if he wants to go to the wrestling, he's very powerful there as well. He's got good wrestling, good takedowns, good top pressure, and good takedown defense. And he's just strong in everything he does. He's powerful in everything he does, and he does all of it at a really high pace. We've seen that cost him in the past because, he can't hold that pace forever. But if he, in the beginning, when he starts out with that pace and he runs at you like it's a drag race, you're just starting off the line as fast as you can, it's trouble for most people. Now, Myktybek Orolbai, he's got a little more staying power typically, but he's not going to be able to keep up initially. I think it's this fight, he needs to weather that early storm and then go from there. Now, with the grappling, he's very good there. He is a solid grappler who chains his takedowns. He has really good mat returns, and a lot of this comes from him getting around that body lock and using that to take down guys over and over and over again. Whenever they get back up, there it is. He's a very good pressure grappler. He just keeps the pressure on, does what he needs to do to wear guys out, and then takes what's given. What do I mean by that? Whether that's the submission, whether that's the advancing of position, whether it's the ground and pound. He takes what's given to him on the mat, and that makes him very successful there. Now, in the striking, good there as well. Decent power, decent. Got long, straight punches, and he controls the range extremely well. There are a lot of things to like about both of these guys, but for me, ultimately, I've got to side with Orolbai. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and I'll see you in the fight at 170 pounds. Neal takes on Rafael dos Anjos. Does anybody else, when they read that, think Rafael 2 Anjos? I don't know. Every time in my head I say it that way, but I don't know. I'm dumb. All right, moving on. Both of these guys are 2-3 in their last 5 fights. Both of them are grizzled veterans of the sport of the UFC. It should be an interesting fight because realistically, Dos Anjos, the dude's 40, right? So I think this is actually his 40th birthday for this fight, but Yeah, I mean, he's realistically he's a lightweight, not a welterweight, but he's fighting at welterweight. He has better performances at lightweight. He just doesn't seem to have it at welterweight, but he has all the skills. And when he puts those skills together, the guy looks great. I mean, he's a solid grappler. He's got good takedowns, very good top control. When he goes for the takedowns, he sets them up very well with his strikes. He's got an extremely large toolbox on the ground. His striking, he's got kicks to all levels, puts together combinations. Legs and body kicks are absolutely his best weapon in this division anyway, because he's going to be shorter than most of these guys. He's shorter here. It's just like he's got the cardio to do this for 10 rounds, let alone 3 or 5. It's just the problem is he's 40. He's up a weight class, and he just doesn't seem to have the physical needs at this weight class. He's fighting Geoff Neal, who is inconsistent, and that's a problem for him. Outside of that, he's great. When he's on, this dude's a solid striker with a ton of power. He's got volume, countering ability, puts together combinations well. His hands are super fast as well as heavy, but also he's got a quick head kick. It's sneaky too, because this guy's, you don't see it coming. It just comes out of nowhere and boom, there you go. Puts you down. He's got good grappling. He's not really a grappler, but he's got very solid takedown defense and heavy ground and pound. The problem is the inconsistency. It's hard to really say. It's hard to count on Geoff Neal as a big favorite, that is. As an underdog, you're like, yeah, I'll take Geoff Neal. But as a big favorite, it's hard because you don't know what version of it is going to show up. But I'm going to take him to win. I think Dos Anjos, just at 170, it's not here for him. We saw him lose to Vicente Luque after Luque had taken all that brain trauma and hasn't looked good at all. And that's just because of the size. So Luque was able just to control him with that extra size. I think Geoff Neal can win this fight. I think he's going to win this fight. So we're taking Geoff Neal. But let me know what you guys think. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. And next up, we're in the light heavyweight division. Ibo Aslan takes on Rafael Cerqueira, I believe is how you say it. Guys, this is rough because this is a fight between two guys with very good records that are extremely misleading. Both of them have fought the lowest level of competition possible. And the best win between either of these guys is Anton Turkalj. So take that for what you will. Either way, both of them are 5-0 in their last 5 fights. Both of them have really impressive records. That's not what we're looking at here. We're going to try to pick out who's going to win this fight. Don't bet. Do whatever the heck you want to do. I wouldn't recommend betting on this fight. This is a dumpster fire of a matchup. We don't really know anything. I don't think either of these guys really have shown anything against any level of competition is the problem. And maybe they're fine. Maybe they're going to do well in their careers. It's just anybody can look good on a punching bag is what I'm saying. But either way, for Cerqueira, from what I've seen, he has decent striking. He can be a little patient, which is a problem, but he's got a good body kick and he's got good power. His body kick's his best weapon by far from what I could tell from the tape that I watched. Now, he seems to have pretty good grappling as well. The arm triangle is his submission that he has twice. He has 2 arm triangle submissions. So there's that. He can grapple all right, it seems. Seems like he has a jiu-jitsu background. He's got heavy ground and pound, and he's got decent takedowns. On the Ibo Aslan side, decent striking. By decent striking, I'm being generous. He hits very hard. This loops these big, wild hooks. They're very powerful, but they're ugly. He has a very powerful leg kick, though, and that leg kick is by far his best weapon, by a landslide. And if he gets that leg kick going early, he's going to have volume, and he's going to be able to put some heavy shots on those legs, and I think that's his best path to victory here. If he gets sucked into throwing wild hooks, he could lose. Decent grappling. If he gets on top, he's got good pressure, and he's got good ground and pound, but he is not very good off his back from what we've seen against Turkalj. Now, for me, this is a nightmare to pick. I'm just going to pick Aslan, and I think he might have better volume. And I think that if it goes to the scorecards, which it may, that he will get the win. But I don't know. I don't like this one. Let me know what you guys think. Maybe you have a better read on it than I do. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Strikers at 185 pounds. Shara Magomedov takes on Armen Petrosyan. Petrosyan 3-2 in his last 5 fights. For Magomedov, he is 5-0 in his last 5. He is still 14-0 on the career, undefeated. This should be a striking match. It should be. However, both of these guys have bad takedown defense, and I'd be interested to see if one of them decides to take the path of least resistance, or presumably least resistance, and shoot a takedown just because that first one you shoot is probably going to be unbeknownst to your opponent. You have two strategies here. One, you you try to, strike it out for the first couple of rounds, assuming your opponent's not going to strike it out, and then you shoot the takedown to win the third because you can get the takedown and then just stay there. If you get the takedown, especially after you've lulled them into this sense of security that there isn't going to be a takedown, that's when that takedown comes. Now, the other strategy, win the first round, shoot that takedown early, get the takedown, and then it's in the back of their mind the whole time. You don't ever have to shoot another takedown again, but the thought of it's there, and then you have that little subtle feint that you can use to get them to bite on it. Both options are good, but I don't think they're going to get multiple takedowns because neither guy's a wrestler. But there's the one. You get one, and one guy, whoever shoots first, probably gets that takedown because it's going to come from the fact that neither guy thinks the other one's going to shoot. At least that's what on paper it looks like. So either way, in the striking, Armen Petrosyan, solid striker, very accurate kicks, puts together combinations extremely well. He's got good movement. He will keep his hands low, but he's tough. He can eat some shots. A lot of that's just, because of the style at which he strikes. That's a thing. Magomedov kind of does it too, but I didn't write it up there. Either way, for Magomedov, solid striker, good kicks. Uses a variety of different kicks, and he does it to all levels. His combinations are good. He puts his punches and kicks together, but he's very much kick heavy. He'll throw 2-3 kicks in a row before throwing a punch sometimes, which is good or bad. Bad because a lot of times you need to be able to mix those together a little bit better. And if you are going to have more volume with one over the other, typically the punch is easier to keep the volume up with, but whatever. He does spin quite a bit. I don't know how I feel about that. Can be good, can be bad. Ultimately, I think this is going to be a close fight, like razor thin fight. And because of that, I've got to side with Magomedov. I feel like he's going to get the nod in a close decision, and I think that's what we're going to get. So we're taking Shara Magomedov to get this one done in an extremely close fight. Let me know what you guys think. Featherweights next. Lerone Murphy takes on Dan Ige. Now, real quick, if you guys have been enjoying this video, if you're enjoying the breakdowns, you're having some fun, maybe you're just, you're kicking back and you're really liking where you're at right now, do me a solid. Like this video. It shows the appreciation for me making the content. It helps YouTube tell people that, tell YouTube that people like this content and they would like to show it to more people. So that is good, and that helps the channel. If we don't have viewers, the channel doesn't stick around. So that's why you can just help out by hitting the like button. It does help me a bunch. Now, thanks. Let's get back to this. So 5-0 in the last 5 for Murphy. He's technically never lost. He has a draw, not a loss. So 14-0-1. It's interesting, but it is what it is. 3-2 for Ige in his last 5 fights. Last loss, though, is he took it on like a handful of hours' notice. So it's like, come on. What do you expect? So did pretty good in that matchup regardless. Either way, we're going to break this one down for Dan Ige. The guy is a solid striker. This guy's striking is tough to deal with because he's so durable. He can take whatever you throw at him. And he's going to be able to land some serious power back at you. He's got good power. His body punches are extremely difficult to deal with, and he's got good leg kicks as well. He's got decent grappling, really good takedown defense. He does work to get back up, but he's not the best off his back. Now, he'll throw some stuff up from the back or whatever, but if you get him down and you start working him that way, he's not super dangerous from there. And he doesn't really offensively grapple as much. He wants to strike with you. He wants to get in the pocket. He wants to pocket box, land the leg kicks, things like that. On the other side, for Lerone Murphy, he's more of the balanced out, well-rounded kind of fighter, right? Good striking. He's got good countering ability, pretty good power in the hands. His hand speed is actually what makes that power so impressive. He puts together really good combos. Not that Ige doesn't put together combos. We're just trying to balance out the pluses over here a little bit more. Good grappling as well. He mixes his takedowns into striking exchanges, which is like, say he's going, they're striking back and forth and then boom, takedown. It's not like he's shooting a takedown because, we're now starting over again from this neutral position. He'll mix it into the striking. Decent top control, and he has the ability to reverse position if he ends up on the mat, which is good because his takedown defense is kind of suspect. I don't imagine he'll need that here because I don't imagine he'll get taken down. But either way, I think if anybody's going to grapple, it's going to be Lerone Murphy. And I think because of that, he's going to get the win. I think Lerone Murphy gets this one done on the scorecards. I think he's going to be able to get takedowns at times, and that's going to swing the rounds in close striking rounds. Because I do think Ige is probably going to be better inside, but at range, I think Murphy, because he's a taller, longer guy. And I think that if Murphy needs to get the takedown to secure a round, he'll be able to. So let me know what you guys think. I'm taking Lerone Murphy. It's a close fight. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. I don't know if it's a fun fight necessarily, but it is a competitive fight at 205 pounds. Where Alexander Rakic takes on Magomed Ankalaev. I think it's competitive for a number of reasons. One, both of these guys have similar 5-on-ends. I know it doesn't look like it when you just look at them, but when you really break it down, 2-3, that's pretty cut and dry. But 3-0, 1 draw, and 1 no contest. Right? That no contest definitely could have been a disqualification. It was a blatantly illegal move. The draw, I mean, I scored it for Blachowicz, so there's that. But I mean, whatever. You got to draw. It's interesting. So when you look at it, like both of these guys have had similar 5-on-hands. Ankalaev's just done everything he can to avoid that loss, and he's done a good job at it. Obviously, it's still a 0 in the loss category in his last 5 fights, so kudos to him. But here we are. He's fighting Alexander Rakic. Rakic is a very solid striker. He's got good footwork. His leg kick is probably his best weapon. You saw him landing it at will against Yuri in his last fight with him before eventually he just couldn't do it anymore and got knocked out. So that's what it is. But the dude has a solid leg kick, and I think that in this matchup, that's going to be his weapon he needs to go to early and often. If he can get that, he's going to do well. Good combinations. He will drop his hands mid-combination, which is a problem for him, especially in this matchup. But if he can just keep his eyes on that, keep his mind on that, that might help a little bit. Might be all right. He does like to clinch up a lot, which is not really the best move in this fight because I don't think he wants to engage in any grappling here. But he does strike really well on the clinch break. He'll like to clinch up and then just kind of reset and then strike on the way out and then get that advantage when he goes back into the reset of the exchange. He's got a good blitzing style when he's looking to finish. A lot of times he'll stay outside, do what he needs to do, poke his jab out there, leg kicks, and then when he sees, oh, this is my time to finish, blitz in and go for that kill right there. He'll do that a lot, and he does a good job with it. With the grappling, he's got reactive takedowns, right? He uses... You saw that in his fight against Anthony Smith. That was a very hodgepodge together fight. It was really completely weird circumstances. It was a 3-round main event just because of the way it was put together, last minute kind of thing. But he uses reactive takedowns really well. Whenever he would just take what Smith would give him, and he would get the takedowns off of the it's time to duck under because these strikes are coming my way. I'm going to get the takedown. He's also got some pretty good upper body throws. Good ground and pound, all these things. Not in the Smith fight, he didn't have good ground and pound. He just laid there. But either way, that was a weird fight. You got to give both guys kind of a pass in that one. It was super, super weird. But either way, the point is that was a long time ago as well. So bear with me on that. I'm just bringing that up because the way he did the takedowns in that fight was a lot of react to Smith's attack and then get the takedown off of that. For Ankalaev, solid striker. He's a better striker than he is grappler. I know everybody for some reason keeps thinking he's a wrestler. I don't get it. Yes, he has good wrestling. He is a striker. So guy's a striker with fast kicks, good boxing combinations. He stays extremely safe on the feet. He doesn't engage unless he sees an opening. He's not willing to go in there and get into a brawl with someone, and that's probably for the better. It just doesn't make for the most exciting fight sometimes. It's okay. He does pick his shots really well, but he is a bit too patient. That's the biggest drawback for him. That's why he kind of finds himself in a lot of these close fights as well because he's just kind of patient. Good grappling, very good takedown defense, and he's got good top control. I think if he wants to get the grappling going early here, that would be actually a good option for him because then he would be able to avoid the leg kicks and he would also be able to avoid he would be able to avoid having a close fight with a guy that's coming off of a couple of losses because if he can just get on top, he's going to be clearly winning. However, in the striking, I think he still can win. So we're going to take Magomed Ankalaev. He's going to have to watch out for the leg kicks. He's going to have to watch out for, Rakic just kind of out-voluming him and outpacing him. But realistically, I think Magomed is probably the better fighter by a bit. Not a lot, but by a little bit. And I'm going to take him to win. You do with that what you will. I don't trust him at the number. I'm just going to pass and watch this fight, kick my feet up on the coffee table, crack open a nice cold root beer, and watch this one and maybe enjoy it, but maybe also just kind of be watching it, taking notes. So let me know what you guys think. Folks, we're at the co-main and main event. I've already broken these down. So check out those videos. They should be popping up in a playlist. It'll pop up on screen any moment now if it has not already. So you can check those out. They're in detail, in-depth breakdowns of both the main and co-main event. I'm not going to go over them all again. So for you guys, check those out. I do appreciate it. Like this video while you're still here if you haven't done so already. Maybe share this with a friend. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.